Fantastic. I came across this by pure accident. Fladdy, how can I get rid of feminism? Any idea? You can't. Your country is already up to the neck with that shit. It is in academia, all major institutions. There is no way to stop it. It should never have been started in the first place. So this is really, really funny. That is what feminism today, the Me Too nonsense, is perpetuating this. Men are getting, I get a feeling men are getting really scared. And because of the media, the way, I mean, I just saw something yesterday, came out on the 10th of October, in North London, England. 10 women have been sexually assaulted near the tube station. And what it occurred was that the sicko, the mentally ill twat, would go up to these women, say hello to them, this and that. He'd ask for a cuddle and whatever. Obviously, they'd probably say no, and then he just sexually assaulted them. No description. Now, the point is, this guy clearly is mentally ill. He's sick and he needs help. 99% of men in the UK don't do that kind of business. Don't do that kind There are, we know there's incidents of guys who do nasty things, and they need to be called out and they need to be taken to prison, or they need to go to a psychological ward. They are obviously not well. They're sick. Instances of situations in society happens every single day. You deal with them, you get on with them. But when I read on this particular, there was advice given by I think it's detective inspector, and it was a woman. And the advice was given, obviously, through haste, through fear, quickness. Ladies, be careful of, walking around with your headsets on and with your devices in your hands. Be aware of your surroundings. Just be careful, when you're walking around. And this was advice given by a female detective. Now, you'll get all this bollock and shit and nonsense that it's always come from the top. She's been instructed to give this out for information. Well, if it had been a bloke, what it would have been the same. Now, for me, it's good advice for anybody. We don't live in paradise. We don't live in a perfect utopia. There are many faults in all societies, both men and women. Women are not perfect, as we men are now fully beginning to see. It's taken quite a long time for men to realise, that the women aren't the angels like we like to portray them to be. They're not. Yeah, people say, the witch trials, some women were dealt with witches, but if you dabble in witchcraft, what do you expect? But the advice was given in good intentions, just advice. I mean, that is what the police are supposed to do. But the thing is, what it is, these feminist, mentally deranged twats wanted the advice delivered in such a way as it supposedly doesn't victim blame, because this is seen as blaming the victim. You are wearing headsets, you are looking at your devices, and you are not taking responsibility for yourself, that's the reason why you were getting molested by these particular by said people or person in the street. And what they would like to see is men should be called out. It should be done in the same way as they do bomb threats. We will not be cowed by the enemies of whatever it is that's causing that's caused the bomb threats in London, United Kingdom. We won't be cowed. The same message needs to be given out to all men, that men should stop attacking women. Men should stop being violent to women. That's what's being said on this particular message that seems to be getting out. The tweets that are going out, and it's like, hold on a minute. This is one man doing something in North London who should hopefully. I think the police actually got somebody and released him on the investigation. There's got to be CCTV cameras. There will be CCTV cameras around that area that will have picked up what he's done. But the thing is, the advice was given, and it's created a massive heap of shit. But all these victimhood hags have got to always find something they need something. They need something to bitch about. That's why I'm talking about it. I need something to bitch about. They need something to bitch about. But it gets really annoying that it should be, men need to be called out and made aware that they should stop attacking women. I mean, we know that a lot of violence occurs in society, but a lot of violence occurs both to women, from men to women, but from women to men. Funny enough, women to women. You know, it's interesting. We don't really know the figures. I've not seen the figures. I'm sure I'm going to try and do some research. Domestic violence in the United Kingdom is always, seen as being men to women. We've seen the figures consistently. That's why the shelters, domestic violence shelters, popped up in the 70s, but they were by accident. They weren't on purpose. And a lady now, she's about 77 now, Erin Privy. I can never pronounce her name. Great. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. Why this woman hasn't been given a dameship, I don't know. I don't know. But she set up this. It was really a coffee morning thing. She set up. Her husband went to work. She was very happy with that. And she said she was from her own mouth. She loved her husband. She was really, really pleased, happy that he went to work and brought home the bacon and paid for the mortgage and everything they needed in the home. He did that. The house, the mortgage, everything was paid for by him going to work. And she was grateful for that. But, obviously staying at home with a couple of kids or a number of kids on her own, after doing the, shopping, washing, cleaning, you've got kids running around, having to tidy up. It's, I've seen it, and you now understand. Yes, we do. I understand. It's not nice just being on your own in the home with the kids, with no other adult sort of discussions and stuff. You're dealing with children. But this is the sort of thing that happens in the UK. If you look across the other world, there's a sort of a big network of women gather together anyway, and they have the children there, and it seems to be a more of a fun thing. I think in the UK, one's home is one castle, and there was sort of like a small community back in working class communities would have, kids running in the backyards of streets, with the mothers cleaning, and they'd be all there talking together and be able to watch the kids as they're playing outside in the street. There were more a communal thing, and so it became less of a mundane thing. It's hard work, especially back in the days of the 18th century, 19th century, when washing had to be done by hand. There was no washing machine, and even if they brought out I think the squeezy with the rollers, that was bloody hard work. Actually, I think in the 80s, my aunt, she was still using one of those to squeeze clothing out, the water out the clothing, passing it through and squeeze it. That was hard work. And then she eventually got a washing machine. So, and then you've got the ironing to do, cleaning the floors, cleaning the windows. It's hard work, mate, and we understand and we take our hats off to the ladies that have done those in the past. That is work, manual work, tedious work. But at the end of the day, she was very grateful to her husband for able to, provide a roof over their children's head, food on the table, clothing, etc., etc. But she got bored, and she needed to have some, other stimulation than just kids running around screaming and making noise. So she set up. She just got a few friends, neighbours, and people out to come around. Let's sit now. Let's come around and have a cup of tea and a coffee and biscuit and have a chit chat and a laugh. Bring the kids round and we can all gather. And that's how it started with her. She didn't set up anything to do with feminism. She didn't set anything out. Obviously, in the 50s and the 60s, there were things that women weren't allowed to do. They couldn't buy a car on their own. They couldn't, I think, they couldn't have an account or something like that without it being signed by the husband. There were things that had to be corrected from the point of view. It was a traditional thing. So, and it was seen as that. But now, it was time for women to have their own accounts and be able to run their own lives, which is what they do today. That's no problem. People have evolved and understood, and that's the point. But what's the problem is that the feminist movement wants to exact revenge. They're not interested. There's a number of steps that feminism wants. First is revenge. They want revenge for 150,000 years of what we've got through to today, that women have supposedly suffered from that period to now. Nobody else has suffered. Nobody. Only women. Nobody else has suffered. Just women. But really, the real prize of the feminist movement, is they've already got into academia. They've already got into the major institutions. They've already got into into the businesses. As Milo Monopolis said, it's a cancer that's got through all of our societies of this in the West. The problem is, what is the eventual end game? The eventual end game is to crown members of the feminists at the top of the tree, all the way down, and to get it to the point where women go to work and all the manual work that needs to be done is done by men only. No men will be in any institutions or, the higher echelons. No, they'll all be lower, and low as they can in below management level, and women will be in the jobs where they don't have to be doing too much of the hard. manual labourers, because electricians. I've yet to see. I have never. I'm going to be honest. I've never ever seen a female electrician. Never. I've worked. I've seen female women working in BT as engineers. I've seen several. But I've never ever seen a female electrician. I've seen a female carpenter, one who came to my flat, and she did the sink, and putting the sink in. Took the old one out and put the new one in. I think there was a cupboard, a small cupboard, had to be installed as well. So the old one taken out, and the new one put in. That was unusual for me. Never seen a girl. She was very nice. Nothing wrong with that. Made a cup of tea, had a chit chat, and all this kind of business. I've seen a few women cleaning the streets. You see that a bit more, sweeping the streets. We need to see more women doing that. Sweeping the streets, not just cleaning in the buildings. Sweeping the floors in the buildings, out in the streets, in the doing the gardening as well. I've seen a few women doing gardening, but sweeping the streets, I've seen a few of those now. Sorry, a few women cleaning the streets. But I do like this. It's quite funny, which is true. It is true. Russia doesn't take this kind of nonsense. Although it was the exponent of equality back during communist time, and it was true equality. Women could be crane drivers, could be sewage workers, could be high power electrical installers. I think in some parts of that region, is it Ukraine? I think the female scientists are 40%. Phew, that's a big number. 40% of female scientists. I'm not sure. I think it's Ukraine. It might be one of the other states, but it's 40%. So, it's clearly, if you just allow things to occur organically, and people will accept things, because, let's face it, men and women don't really like change, or certainly not in a very, fast-paced way. If it's done in an organized way and sympathetic way, people will change. But it's like, look at what's happening in Europe. All these migrants pouring into Germany and Switzerland, Sweden, and all this kind of. The change has been massively dramatic. It's causing massive ripples through the whole of Europe. That kind of change is too dramatic, too quick for a lot of people. And also the kind of people that are coming in as well. A lot of them are very educated, well-educated people, but there's a lot of, real, even more base people that are cause of the problem, that come in and, feel that they can, not only are they going to come in, but they're going to bring their culture wholesale, and you're going to like it, period. And so this is the reason why you're getting the problem in Europe. And the funny thing is, the feminist movement has said very little about it. They haven't made any real complaints. They've said very little about it. I fear for young men going to parties. I would give advice to men out there now. Do you really want to have a party with a whole load of girls coming into your party and guys and whatever? You know, the lacrosse team, in Canada, I think there was lacrosse they played, and 2 young men were accused. Um, it doesn't matter what the colour. I think the girl, if I remember, was black, and she had sex with 2 of these guys. I think it's the right one. It was either 2 guys were accused or 4, but either in America or Canada, one of the 2. But so it's not just a white female thing. You know, you can get into big problems. The same thing if it's a black girl. Nobody's saying that anyone should be allowed to abuse anybody. Nobody's saying that. But we're getting situations now where this consent business, where does it begin and where does it end? Because I'm hearing that there is even in America that they're going to teach consent in one of the schools. So now it looks like this has been handed to the feminists, and they seem to, I'm not sure, have probably are going to draw up a handbook of what consent is and how. And this is the point about this book is aimed towards the male of the species. This book, set of rules will be aimed and is aimed at the male of the species. So when they get this out and then it's spread across the USA, the rest of the world, especially in the West, will now get a copy of this particular handbook or set of instructions on how or what consent is. And you will be expected to follow that. Men, young men, be careful about setting up parties. Christmas is on its way. You know, barbecues are fine to a degree, but it's getting cold outside, so you know you can have your usual Halloween type parties, etc. But you know, this is where I'll tell you this now: if I had a business and I had employees, there'd be no Christmas party, none. Not even one where it was organised in a restaurant. Or if I was going to do one, and I had a number of and there was women and men, you know what? I would split the guys and split the women. Women go to, we'll set up a date for you. Young ladies' night can have ladies, and the men can help separate and have their own in a restaurant. You know, go to a Chinese, Indian, whatever restaurant. You know, French, Spanish, Italian, whatever. You know, Pizza Hut. The point is that it seems now, because the feminist movement was saying, "Oh, men need to control themselves. Why are they sort of saying now that they don't want to have these parties?" What men thought was fun, they don't really now know what the rules are. So you now need to bring the rule book, and that will be another step in which the feminist movement are moving towards a total control of Western society. You know, Me Too is that catalyst. Young men, seriously, and guys out there, if you've got young boys, this is not a joke. You have to sit your boys down. You have to talk to them about how they behave, and what, especially when it comes to sexual behavior or sexual issues, because now you can't use passion. Passion cannot be used if you are going to engage with some form of sexual activity with a young girl. It has to be planned out to the T, to the detail. There is no passion involved. The young girl will be the one who's going to be in charge of the young boy. He will have to take instructions from her. But at the end of the day, will we get a situation in the not too distant future where young men will be able to have, because look, it's people joke about it and make a big, but it's slowly becoming a reality. Boston Dynamics have demonstrated a robot that can jump up boxes, and have also demonstrated the same robot running. And it looks unbelievably, I mean, it's a huge jump from the Honda Asimo robot, that cute little robot that you see, to what the Boston Electronics. They're now way ahead of that particular robot. And the one that they have at the moment is only a few years away from, another 5 years. What will they be producing? Robots that will be able to go into a fire situation and pull people out, literally, which will be fantastic. If a building falls on top, it's not a problem. Okay, it will go in there, find someone, a little old lady's in a bad sleep, there, pick her up, cover her up, pick her up, because they will be able to see exactly what's going on. Pick her up, bring her out, and she's rescued. I had a gentleman I went to do a job for, and I think his mother died 15 years ago. She was a devout Catholic, just like my mother is, and it was because she lit a candle. And he warned her numerous times, "Mum, be careful with candles. Candles are very dangerous." And they've caused numerous fires in the past, because, even if you put it on a plate, if you put a long candle, it falls over, it catches fire on the carpet. If you've got carpet, hers obviously fell over and caught on something, and it caused a fire. And unfortunately, the tenants, I'm not sure if it was a flat or a small block of flats, whatever. And anyway, they came running out. One of them knew him and phoned him and said, "Look, quick, get down! Something's happening at the flat. It's on fire." The time he got down there, he saw everybody that he knew and said, "Oh, he's there." And then he says, "Where's Mum?" And he couldn't see her. Couldn't see her anywhere. So he then tried to run back in, literally run into the flat, and people just grabbed hold of him and dragged him down to the ground. He was screaming when he needed to get in and save his mother. It touched my heart, mate. Touched my heart. His poor mother. He lost his mother. She was elderly, but she could have lived another, 10 years, 15. She could have been alive today. But just that one moment of using a candle that cost her life. And he said it's taken him 15 years to get over it. He can talk about it now, but probably 5 years ago, he just couldn't talk about it. So we need to all remember, look, everybody's in the same boat. We're all trying to find our way in this world, whether we're very young, very old, middle age. And people have got to stop being vindictive if we possibly can. See, the reason why you get guys from the MGTOW movement sounding vindictive or sounding very, is because they're annoyed and frustrated and see the way in which feminists seem to be incredibly ungrateful at the things that they have today, which have been produced by men, whether you like it or not. Many of the things that are being produced today now involve women. We know that because more women are going into the workplace, in manufacturing and stuff like this. But many of the things that the inventions, a lot of the inventions have been by men. These are facts. And, if you say these things now, you get suspended. A gentleman in, I think in Italy, Italian professor, he's been suspended. And I haven't really followed it, what's happened to him. I'm sure he's lost his job. He will lose his job. It's because it depends on how he decides to, whether he's going to be steadfast and not. He doesn't need to resign. He's not said anything, or he's not done anything criminal. He's not said anything criminal. Why should you lose your job? He won't take nonsense. I hope he stands and says, "Stuff you! I've said what I need to say. I had a lecture. If you've taken it in the wrong way, that's your business." This is the way people behave. This unbelievable, nasty, victimized twats that we have in this society. It pisses me off, honestly. And I took my red pill 2012, realizing that I've been seeing it before that time, but I didn't equate it and realize that it was really down to feminism. For instance, a woman can slap a guy in the face in the middle of the street. Nobody will do anything to question that woman. If anything, you'll probably see women smiling. Say, "Yeah, good. You've given it to him. Good." But the moment he slaps her back, there'll be 101 white knights, manginas, chucks. Not to ask, "Wait, what's happened, man? What's going on?" "Oh, she just slapped me in the face." No, it will be. Even if he did, they wouldn't even listen to him. They'll just get hold of him, and you don't hit a woman under any circumstance. Even if she's baying at you, she's nagging you, and she's saying derogatory things about you, etc., etc. Domestic violence, as I didn't finish what I was saying, but domestic violence is seen as a male thing only here in the UK. And even when there is a judgment that came out, I think it was 2006, 2006, that even now, men who verbally abuse their partners, their wives, their partners, even if they've done nothing physical to them, psychologically, they can be put into prison. So if a woman does that, says a guy, "You're bloody useless, mate," and things like that, and is derogatory, and just uses her mouth, nothing's going to happen. There have been times when I've seen women slapping geezers across the face, smacking them on the head, being abusive. And some people have a threshold, and when they reach it, they explode. They explode because it's gone on for years, gone on for a while, 6 months to a year. But nobody's explored that. Nobody's questioned that. Never. You just hear few anecdotes here and there. In Australia, the figures for female on male violence is 30% 35%. I was shocked because I was expecting it to be, 0.01% or something like that. 35%. And that's the guys who are willing to come forward to report the domestic violence. You hear of women stabbing guys in the stomach. There's one guy got stabbed in the stomach with a small knife. Getting lunatic, screaming and shouting, scratching, doing all sorts of things, punching. I witnessed it from my flat, 3 o'clock in the morning when I was moving me and my brother were moving some stuff. And I saw, when I looked over the balcony, because I was looking for my brother down at the car, and I saw from the corner of my eye a woman and a young girl. So I looked across, and they were going to the flat. They went to, it was a big block of flats. They got in. I can't remember. I wasn't sure whether she had a key or whether she buzzed the flat, and it was up on the 3rd floor. So I sort of ignored it for a while, and suddenly I was hearing this bang, bang, bang. And I looked in the direction where the noise was, which was coming from the flat. And it was the woman banging on the guy's door. Let me in! Open this effing door! Let me in! I thought, holy shit. So, next thing I know, she kept banging. He opens the door. They then go in. You then hear some sort of muffled shouting going on. Screaming and shouting, this and that, whatever it was. And then eventually, it come out back into the corridor of where they were. And the guy was pleading with the woman, please calm down. We'll sort this out. We could sort this out, quietly. The daughter was there, I could see now, was hovering around, not knowing what to do. She was just going mad. And then she said, you're not going to have her. She's not going to stay here with you, blah, blah, blah. People started coming out now, about 3 or 4 people looking, what the bloody hell? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. Because either they were asleep or they were watching TV, perhaps, and they just come out. Extraordinary. She was just going mental, shouting and screaming. And the guy was really pleading with, please, he said. It was just this, he was trying his best. This woman was just going mad. So she then eventually, this went on for about a good 10 minutes. And people were, just, when she went down to the lift and came out, I remember I heard one black woman saying, you need to keep your woman under control, making too much noise at 3 o'clock in the morning. And this poor guy said, look, I'm very sorry, very sorry about that. Jesus. 2 or 3 minutes later, police van zoomed through. Vroom! And I'd now gone downstairs and was packing my stuff into the car. Cop comes out, the female cop. Geezer comes to me. You see a woman just gone past here with a child? I said, yeah. He says, and I pointed in the direction. I said, look. But I said, that was about 4 or 5 minutes ago. I don't know where they've gone now. So he said, no problem, thanks. Jumps into the car and sort of went into the direction of where I pointed. And that was it. That was my involvement. Everything is not black and white in society. There's a lot of grey. And I just think that we have to be careful of the agenda of feminism. And there are times when, I would wish governments would say, "Fuck off. We're not going to do this." Look at the money. Sorry, the companies, the two companies that had, I think, 215 employees or more, had to report what they were paying female staff and what they were paying male staff, and it had to be in by this time. I don't know whether these companies got money from the government to do this. I hope they did, and it didn't come out of their pocket, because it would have cost a lot of money from their point of view and a lot of their time to have to do this audit. So I hope they got paid, and if they didn't, I think many companies should get to say, should boycott and say, no, we're not going to give you any. You want this audit, you have to pay for it, because there are I think a few companies who didn't report on time are going to get fined. They're going to be they're going to be dealt with. From the language that I heard, they're going to be dealt with. How dare they be late in bringing this information? They will be fined. So you see, many feminists like to think they're intelligent, but they're dumbasses. They really are. And when you get women, there was a woman on a radio station saying that she was, it was part of the audit. I didn't realize at the time that's what she was doing. She was correlating, part of the team that was correlating this data. And she said that companies needs to pay women fairer, in that when they start, everyone should start at the same level of pay regardless. So I suppose managers, when they come in, they can't negotiate. She's basically said they should stop negotiating. Negotiating pay should stop, because men have an unfair advantage. Really? Women, the great communicators, supposedly, and it's men who have the unfair advantage. These said men who have families, who have children, wives, whose wives nag them, we've got a number of children, mouths to feed, you need to go for that pay rise, okay, because we're not getting enough coming in. This is what drives a lot of men to ask for pay rise. A lot of men who are single and they go and work in somewhere and they get a certain pay, they're quite happy if they're looking after themselves and it's a good job and they're getting good money. They don't need to. It's when guys get married and they've got another mouth to feed, or they get children, etc., etc. That's when they start to push for that pay rise. That's where that comes from. Boss, look, wife's just had another baby, and she's been, nagging me to come in and see, is there any chance of a pay rise? It's been a while now, blah, blah, blah. And, a lot of the time, if, the company's doing well and losing money, they'll get the pay rise. But it's a case of, if you don't ask, and it depends on how, sometimes you have to be assertive. Sometimes it depends if the boss is, you get on with the boss very well. You can do it a different way. But this woman said that they should get rid of the negotiated pay, and that everybody, regardless, when you come into a job, there should be a pay scale, and that you should fit into that pay scale, period. Well, I think, you know what? The people who will benefit are the companies. That's the point. Because whatever pay scale you put on, you won't be able to go beyond that or come out of that, okay, unless you do. And I think even some women will probably even want to stop men from doing overtime. The fact that this audit that was done, 78%, I think, of certain industries where men are earning more, but they don't tell you the reason. There's no breakdown of the reason why. It's just they see that figure of 78%, and then some of these women lose their collective shit. They just go bananas. They go bananas. this stupid day without a woman at work is fucking nonsense. It is fucking nonsense. I wish men, really do wish men could, and this is the reason, I think part of the reason is feminism is succeeding, is men are not very good at being, getting together in this regard. You know, you get the odd Million Man March that comes and goes. But when it comes to women's issues, they're very good at organising themselves, and getting a huge group together to march about nonsense. But men won't do it, and because they're too busy getting on, earning the money, making the money, and keeping society going. Because if men really true were to step back and say, you know what, the power stations not going to be working today, the nuclear stations, we're going to shut them down for a day or two, for that day, and they will have to shut it down in a staged way. Gas pipes will all be shut, oil pipes, and then they decide to come and march down to London. You will see. Look what happened in the 70s when the dustbin men went on strike. Look what happened. I mean, there was piles and piles of rubbish. Why didn't the women organise collect that rubbish and throw it onto the find out where the skips were? The government organised women and said, "Come on, you pick up all the rubbish and get it down there." The lights went out in the 70s. I was a young lad, and they used to go out for a couple of days. It was very unusual. And we had candles and stuff like that to light the rooms. But they went out for a few hours or for a day or whatever it was. I wonder how, if these guys were to do the same thing to them, to stop the rubbish in the streets, picking up the rubbish, to shut down the electricity, how many women could go in there and just keep it running? How many women could go in there? The ones that are working on site there at the moment, how many of them could keep these places running? Because if they did, good, I'd take my hat off to them. But I don't think you would, because I think 90% of the power industry, 95% of the power industry is run by men. Many of the office admin will be women. But the guys who are out on the street doing the hard graft will be men. There was an accident happened once I read about. It involved oxygen, those big massive oxygen bottles, and a guy brought a number of them back and to refill, and he put the wrong pipe and onto that bottle, and there was an explosion. The whole the wrong pipe went to the wrong bottle, and I think it was already filled. There was some issue, I don't know what it was, and they did investigation and to find out what was the reason, and now it's obviously much safer. That pipe will not go into that I think methane pipe or whatever it is will not go into that particular bottle. But the point is, there are dangers that men experience every day. 93% of fatalities at work are men. I think there was a guy in America, he works in dealing with the pylons. He has to wear a suit. And while he's wearing that suit, over 1 million volts of electricity, because he's got to work with the pylon and use a long rod or whatever it is he's fixing or doing whatever he is doing with that electricity pylon while it's, because it's still got to run. So they have to wear this suit, and he's got 1,000,000 volts going over him. The suit is protecting him, but obviously that 1,000,000 volts, he's feeling something in his body. In that it's the not residue. He's not feeling the electricity, but it's humming, and not the word emission. As something is, you're going to be feeling that through your body. That's sort of like a vibration that'll be emanating through your body. Because they say electricity pylons, if you live under electricity pylon, it's not good for you. But on a regular basis, because of what it emits. I'm trying to think what's. But anyway, whatever because they're making a noise, and they emit from the actual electricity themselves, are emitting, and you can feel it through your body. So you have to be careful if you live directly under or very near to electricity pylons. So you can imagine this guy's doing this as a job every day, or whatever it is, and he's having to wear this suit. What is that doing to his body? 1,000,000 volts are passing over him through the suit, and what is that doing to his body? He's not, he's not obviously feeling the whole, but that's a lot of voltage. A lot of voltage. And it'd be like radio waves emitting from that and penetrating through his body. He will be feeling something. But the point is, the kind of things that men do, the dangerous things that men do every single day, people don't appreciate. The sewers. There are people go down the sewers. When you see on TV, guys going down the sewer, the stink is going to be horrendous. I've driven past, there's a place in when you go to Enfield, and actually it's gotten better. But I remember in 2000, my nephew was born in 2000, and when I used to go up to visit him there, the stink was just unbearable. I'm driving, and I've got the windows up, and then I'd go, what's that smell? And it was you going a sewage farm. That's it, the sewage farm. Going past the sewage farm, it was horrendous. And I thought to myself, oh my God, how do people there were flats, blocks, houses are there. How do people live near a sewage farm? You've got to have your window constantly closed every single day. But now it's got better, I have to admit. It's not as pungent and as strong as it used to be. But these are the things that people do very horrible things. I think in India, literally, there are men who block the sewer system with their hands. With their hands. Holy sweet Christmas. Holy, the disease that these guys are exposed to. But they do it every day. They do it every day. But these are the kinds of things that have gone on through history. Men and women back in the day, you used to have to, I read somewhere, shovel the shit out of the, a compound or whatever it is to take it away from the house. That's why slaves were used, that were in the past, because someone had to do it. They didn't want to do it, so they enslaved people to do these dirty, vile, nasty jobs. But now we have very much an automated system with plumbing that takes away the waste to the sewage system, and then it's processed and it's clean, and so on and so on. I wonder what they do with the sewer system, actually. Sewage. Does it go into the sea untreated, or is it broken down? And we don't know. What It's funny. Anyway, it's not something I really want to think about or talk about. But getting back to this fantastic meme, Vlady. It's very good. I'll tell you, this is very clever. I like it. I like it a lot. And I've said quite a few things. I've waffled on quite a lot. But and the reason being is because you see every single day the feminist movement is consistently hammering away at the male structure of society, and it will collapse. They think and they feel that they're winning every time they the Me Too movement, and they feel that they're gaining within the structure. But what will happen is, I believe, it will fail miserably, and they don't know it, and that men will find a way in the future, when they realise they no longer want to be used and to be women live until can live up to 120, 130 years. The average woman can live to 85 years of age. Yet your average man is dying at 46, 47, 50, and if he's very lucky, he gets to 70, 75, prostate cancer is we're now starting to see is prevalent amongst men. But how much research has gone into it in comparison to breast cancer? Double the money in research and development has gone into breast cancer. Double the money to that of prostate cancer. Yet more men die from prostate cancer in the United Kingdom than women die of breast cancer. But it doesn't matter. Again, it's men. So nobody cares. Nobody's bothered. But now, I read a few days ago, the NHS has seen a huge uptake, a huge amount of men inquiring about prostate cancer and wanting, to have tests. And I think there's a £25 million or something like that, is it? Maybe a bit more. Or it might be 250 million. Anyway, is now going to be allocated to the research and towards this disease, and how maybe there'll be a saliva test or a blood test in the future that can determine whether you've got it or not. But no, nobody's doing any research on it, or very little research. Everything, all the campaigns have been about breast cancer. We consistently get this nonsense that women are so badly treated in the United Kingdom, Britain, along with America, along with Australia, New Zealand. most advanced countries in the world, women are still apparently still treated badly. Women can't advance beyond the so-called stupid, dumbass glass ceiling. Yet 47 girls' schools, independent girls' schools, exist in the United Kingdom. 47. 36 independent boys' schools exist in the United Kingdom today. Does that show that women are somehow disadvantaged? They have 11 more independent girls' schools to that of boys' schools. 11 more. Where's the equality? 60% of university graduates now are women. 40% are men. Is anything being done to equate that? We heard about it, but nothing's been done to equalise it. There's a prime example of where the feminist movement can practice what they are trying to preach, was that they want an equal society where there's 50-50 everywhere. Because they're full of shit. They're not interested in 50-50. They're interested in 85-90%. 75% of female doctors that come out of college now. So 75% of doctors are now female. 75%. The veterinary industry used to be dominated by men, is now dominated by women. Psychology used to be dominated by men, is now dominated by women. Oh, wasn't that Dr. Ford, supposed Dr. Ford, wasn't she a psychologist? Holy sweet Christmas. If that's the standard of what we've got in today, holy sweet Christmas. So, I think it's important that you stand back, some of you women who, who class yourself as feminists, okay, stand back. Really spend a little bit of time trying to get both sides of the story rather than just one. Okay, because all you're doing is, distracting the whole of society, disrupting in a massive way the whole society. Anyway, I've waffled on for an hour, said my view. Thanks for listening.